チェンを育てた監督サモハン・キンポーが言う。ジャッキーは永遠にヒーローでなければならない。私はこの映画でジャッキーアクションの限界に挑戦する。ファンの皆さん、ファーストミッションはエキサイティングな映画です。集中でぜひ見てください。どうもありがとうございました。ファーストミッション。
Hey guys, it's Will, it's Hong Kong Cinema Appreciation Society. Welcome back to the channel. I hope you're doing well today. If you are new to the channel, thank you for finding us. I hope you enjoy Hong Kong cinema. I hope you like these two gents right here behind me, Jackie Chan and Sammo Hung. Hell yeah, you already know what we're talking about today because you see the poster right there on my computer. Welcome back to my office, I should also say. If you are new here and you like this video, if you love Hong Kong movies, it'd be much appreciated if you gave us a sub and a thumbs up and all that fun stuff. I also want to give a brief shout out to our patrons who make this channel possible. So many of the releases that you see me reviewing here on the channel, I purchase with money we make from Patreon. You can sign up for $2 a month, $5 a month. I do a lot of Patreon exclusives and early release videos. So I do early release Blu-ray reviews, and I do some Wicked early releases, which are videos that are on Patreon for months before they come out on the channel. And then I do exclusive movie reviews and Blu-ray reviews as well. I try to put up at least one exclusive or Wicked early release video every week, and then other stuff kind of padded around that. So let's jump right into this. Obviously, we're talking about Heart of Dragon. Hell yeah, the Arrow release, April 11th of 2023. This is coming out for Region A. This came out, I think, about 3 years ago for Region B from 88 Films, and I was so excited about that release. So let me tell you, Mike, let me tell you a quick story here. This is a film from 1985, which is Jackie Chan's great, amazing year, right? Because he put out Police Story, Twinkle Twinkle Lucky Stars, My Lucky Stars, The Protector, and Heart of Dragon all in the same year. It's just ridiculous, right? Okay, so when I got this Blu-ray release, I was thinking, well, I watched this movie like 5 times within the last probably 3 years. I don't really need to watch the movie again. I'll just kind of go through the bonus material, kind of put together a little review. Then I had a sinus infection. I was feeling like crap. I was sitting on my couch, and the Heart of Dragon Blu-ray was staring me in the face. And I was like, just put it on and see if I feel like watching it. It was the best comfort food. It was the best medicine. It was the perfect timing. I love this movie so much. I love vintage Jackie and Sammo so much. It was such a joy to watch this film again, even though I've seen it so much recently. And there's 2 versions of the film on here. There's the Hong Kong cut and the Japanese cut, so you get both of them there. The only difference is the Japanese cut is longer. It has more fight scenes. And Sammo explains in one of his interviews on this disc that he actually cut those fight scenes out because he didn't think they were necessary to the story, basically. He thought they were just kind of superfluous, like fight scenes for the sake of having fight scenes. So he removed them from the film. But they're in the Japanese version, and that is included on this release. And the Japanese version has fantastic music, too. I do have to say, I love the music. It's different music. I love the music on the Japanese version of the film. This is just like, if I were to call something a 5-star release and mean that it was perfect, this is like a 10-star release. Like, it's like double the amazing. Like, this really is just, it's such a joy that this release has come for Region A, that it's this movie coming out. It looks frigging ridiculous. It looks incredible to have these films looking like this on these Blu-ray releases. We're just so lucky to be alive right now and to be fans of these films. And I'm so happy with this release that, like, if you want to take anything away from this video, it's that this is just pure joy to me. All of the bonus material plus the film, pure joy. I'm very privileged that I get to do this, that I get to sit here and talk to you about movies I love so much and such fantastic releases. Now, I do have to say, if you're unfamiliar with this film, if you've never seen it before, there are some things you should know about it before you go and see it. Number one, it's kind of a drama. So if you're expecting like a classic Jackie Chan or Sammo Hung action movie, this is not it. It has the classic Sammo Hung kind of plot device, which he uses a lot. Open with a fantastic action scene. Then the last maybe 15 to 20 minutes of the movie is just amazing nonstop action. There's an incredible car chase in this movie, incredible. And there's an amazing, huge final fight sequence in this like construction site where there's like grenades and guns. And there's Dick Y and Jackie Chan fight. Dick Y is my favorite like martial arts badass bad guy. And Jackie Chan obviously is my favorite action hero. And the fight between the two of them is just redonkulous. It's so good. It's so fast. It's so hard hitting. It's just like the climax of this movie is freaking incredible. The hour that sits between those things really is a drama. It's like a straight up drama. And if you're unfamiliar with the plot of the film, Jackie Chan is a cop And he has this dream of traveling the world. So he wants to get a different job that allows him to travel a lot. And then Sammo Hung is his brother, and his brother has a disability, a mental disability, that means that Jackie has to take care of him, like, well, almost like he's his kid kind of thing, right? And so there's this tension in their relationship in that Jackie can't go and live his dream because he has to take care of his brother. But the brothers love each other so much. And Jackie has so much protective kind of instinct for his brother that you have this really interesting dramatic tension between his desires, his obligation, and how that affects their relationship. Now, there are some people who think that this movie is so dated that they find it a little bit hard to watch because it's never specified what the disability of the Sammo Hung character is. And so, you know, for in the people who they find it offensive that they feel as though it's just kind of using the idea of a mental disability with no specificity to it as a plot device, right? Now, I will say that I am closely related to someone who is neurodivergent, and I've spent a fair amount of time in my life kind of taking care of that person. And I don't find this movie offensive at all, like at all. And the reason for that is that I don't think it's ever condescending towards the Sammo character. And I think that the relationship between the brothers is done really, really well. There's a sweetness and there's a love and there's a palpable frustration there too, which is true to life. And I think that, and it's born of love. And this movie the people in the movie who kind of bully the Sammo Hung character, they really bully him. There's some like really kind of dark, mean-spirited scenes in this movie in terms of not the attitude of the film, but the attitude of the characters. They're very mean to the Sammo character. And yet at the same time, that can sometimes be true to life. You know, I don't think this movie is mean-spirited or condescending towards the Sammo Hung character. And that to me is kind of what makes it a good-natured film that I don't find offensive at all. But I do know that there are people who don't like this movie because they find it a little bit like it's so dated in its handling of the subject matter that it doesn't fit like a modern kind of filter if you're going back and watching it from a more contemporary perspective. So it's just worth throwing out there. I'm going to talk about the bonus material now. This has my favorite bonus thing, my single favorite individual bonus feature ever released on any Jackie Chan movie ever, which means probably any Hong Kong movie ever, which is it's a 50-minute long behind the scenes documentary about the making of the film made for Japanese audiences. Jackie Chan made 5 movies in this year, like I said. You see him like sleeping in his car between takes. You see him just like sitting on the street, like amazing location, like documentary style footage, which is where they were shooting this film in Hong Kong. There's a scene where Jackie's sitting on the street with like a bunch of the other people in the movie, like the stunt guys and like stuff like that. And he's just kind of sitting there hanging out, waiting for the next shot. And it's just like, it's so cool to see. You see Wu Ma, who's he directed The Dead and the Deadly, but he's like a producer and he's an actor, and you'll recognize him immediately when you see him. He's in so many of these films, but you see him like kind of directing a scene because Sammo, who is the director, was off doing something else, and Yoon Bi-yoo is the action director on this film, and you see Yoon Bi-yoo and Sammo like working through an entire action sequence. Like, okay, we'll do this shot here, right? Do that move, and then they move around to another one, and they're like, okay, we're gonna do this here. We're gonna shoot it from this direction, okay, and it's all just like fly on the wall stuff. It's so amazing. Like, this is unprecedented behind the scenes access to a Jackie Chan Sammo Hung film at the height of their kind of careers, like at this pivotal year. And I just there's no better bonus feature anywhere in the world. And there's a 15-minute long by the same company, the Japanese Shochiku, I think was the Japanese studio who did these, a 15-minute long thing that was like a kind of a teaser slash promotional thing for the movie. That's not the full 15-minute documentary, but it has a lot of similar footage, but other footage as well. So there's 65 minutes of behind the scenes documentary style footage about the making of the film. It's just so amazing. There's footage of 2 different stunts that went wrong and stunt performers who got really seriously injured on this film. And you hear like the whole story about it. It's just nuts. And it's, I would buy a Blu-ray that just had those on them. No movie, no other bonus features, just those. And I would spend the money on it. It would be worth it. So to have those on here as bonus material is just incredible. There's a 9.5-minute interview with Jackie Chan. He talks about how he and Sammo really wanted to do a drama. They wanted to do something different. They wanted to branch out. He talks about how he worked on his acting and his character and how he was really deliberate about, like, in this scene, I want to be like this. I want to be tapped into this emotion. And in this part of the scene, I'm going to kind of pull back a little bit. But in this part of the scene, I'm really going to go for it. It's interesting to hear him talk about his acting process. Okay, so this is a great quote from Jackie Chan. He says, "No movies are perfect, but Sammo's movies are the best." I thought that was great. He explains why. He also talks about how hard it was to film the final fight between him and Dick Y because Sammo used all dolly moves, which is the camera, kind of pushing back and forth. So not only did they have to remember the choreography for the fight and do the fight choreography, and there's in the Japanese behind the scenes stuff, you see Dick Y accidentally kick Jackie full on. And if you don't know who Dick Y, he was like an actual martial artist, and I think at one point was training Taiwanese military in martial. Like, he's like, this guy is for fucking real, and he hammers Jackie Chan like full on. And Jackie's just like gets hammered in the chest and has to like recover and stuff. But anyway, so they not only have to memorize all the moves of the sequence, they have to get it exactly on the beat of the moving camera. And Jackie talks about how hard that was. And it's really interesting to hear that. There's 2 interviews with Sammo, 11 and a half minutes and 7.5 minutes for a total of, 19 minutes of interviews. In both of these interviews, he talks about the script, which is really interesting. When they first started shooting this movie, it was a totally different script, and Sammo was not in it. They shot for one day, and Sammo was like, I can't do it. I can't make this movie. It's just not right for me. So he went away, wrote the script, conceptualized the whole film, came back, and then they started making it. And he wrote a part for himself. And he talks about how the character that he plays, he kind of started playing it when he was conceptualizing the script. He's like, who do I want to play? Okay, I want to play this character. And in writing it and in thinking about it, he was already kind of playing the character. And so when they came to shoot it, he knew exactly what to do. And it's really interesting to hear that, the evolution of that process. And he actually says the producers really wanted him to have a fight scene in the movie. And he's like, there's no way. This character is not a martial artist. If I do that, it'll be preposterous and this movie will be crap. And it's really interesting to hear like Sammo's kind of creative approach to the material. There's an interview with Arthur Wong, who is the cinematographer on here, which I think is like 20 or 25 minutes long. He talks about how he got into the industry. Amazing fact. He says, I wanted to be in the film industry because it looked like so much fun. It's just like the greatest quote. I love that quote. Then he got hired by Shaw Brothers as an assistant camera operator. By the time he was 20, he was the actual camera operator, like on the camera. And then he moved into being a cinematographer. He talks about loving American movies and how a lot of the filmmakers of that generation loved American movies. So that helped him get work because he understood all their reference points when they would talk about certain American films. The other thing he says that's so fascinating, he says that Sammo Hung has like the most organized mind of any director he ever worked with. And Sammo could make a list of like 50 shots that he wanted to do without writing anything down. It was all in his head. And he could shoot them out of order and still know what sequence they were going to be edited in. So he wouldn't just go like, we're going to do shot 1, shot 2. He could be like, let's do 1. Okay, well, next let's do 22. Okay, then let's do 17. Let's do 44. But he knew exactly where everything would go. And his mind was just like perfect for filmmaking. I think that's really interesting to hear. Rocky Lai has an interview, I think it's 10 or 15 minutes long, and he's a stunt performer. And it's actually really interesting. He was a construction worker. His brother was in the film industry. His brother took him to Jackie Chan's house. Construction was happening at Jackie Chan's house. He looked at the construction and was like, hey, these guys don't know what they're doing. And he fixed it. And then they were like, oh, we should hire this guy. Excuse me. I'm still getting over my sinus infection, which I mentioned earlier in the video. Anyway, I thought that was a really funny story. And he had no martial arts training or anything. And he says it would have been much better being a stunt performer if I did have martial arts training, but I didn't. And then he talks about how like he had no idea how dangerous the stunts were because he was just young and having fun. And then he looks back on it and he's like, why the hell did I do that? It's funny. Okay, and then we have a commentary with F.J. DeSanto and Frank Jeng. So F.J. DeSanto, is a movie producer. He's a writer for television. He's a show writer. He's a showrunner, a screenwriter. He's written comic books before. And And so he has a really, and he's been a Jackie Chan fan since like the 80s, since he was like a teenager. And he's met Jackie several times. And he's just a huge fan of these films. And I just love his perspective, not only as a big Jackie fan, but also as like a writer and a producer and a filmmaker. And then Frank is obviously Frank, and Frank is incredible. And so the two of them together, so good. So FJ talks about like story elements in this that you also see in Police Story, which is, I hadn't noticed that, but it's really obvious when he points it out. They talk about The Protector, which is another film that Jackie made in 1985, which is directed by James Glickenhaus, which is an English language film. It was produced by Golden Harvest, I believe, but it was shot mostly in Hong Kong, some of it in New York City, but it's an English language film that they were trying to break into the American market with. And Jackie had a really bad experience on that film. So they talk about how that affected how he made films and the type of material he wanted to make moving forward from there, and how you could see that reflected in this movie and other films from that era. It's a really great analysis. Sammo's brother is in this movie. Lau Kar-wing is in this movie, who is legendary, and the brother of Lau Kar-lung, but also he directed like Skinny Tiger, Fatty Dragon. I think he directed Dragon Family, which is like an amazing heroic bloodshed film, and he directed Odd Couple and like all kinds of awesome stuff like that. And he's in a bunch of movies, and so he's in this movie in a couple scenes, and they kind of point out where he is, because I didn't know that, honestly. I hadn't noticed that the last time I watched this movie. FJ talks about how this is like really the first big attempt on the part of Jackie and Sammo to do something different than like the action and martial arts films, and how this, you know, that's just interesting to think about, like how their careers changed as a result of them trying to do something different. And then, and FJ also kind of analyzes the consistency of, and this kind of harkens back to the Sammo Hung interview. FJ talks about how there's no false note in his performance at all. He is that character. In every scene, every reaction, every movement, everything is so genuine, and it really sells the character. And I think that ties back into Sammo saying before they were even writing it, he started playing the character in his head to understand who he was. And then Frank saw this movie in San Francisco Chinatown when it came out in theaters, and he talks about how the audience was so engrossed in the drama between the brothers, and you could really feel the theater, like, you know, kind of hushed and deeply involved in the film. I thought that was really cool. So anyway, that's about it. It's Heart of Dragon. It's the Arrow release for Region A. Finally, Region A is getting these classic Hong Kong, Jackie Chan, Sammo Hung movies. It's amazing. April 11th, 2023, like I said, is a release date for this film, or this release, excuse me. And I mean, it's just, I'm so happy this exists. I know I geeked out about that already, but I just wanted to say it again. My name is Will. It's Hong Kong Cinema Appreciation Society. We thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.